What's up, 405th? This is Colonel Fork here. I want to show you how I managed to do a mount to, in Halo Reach and Halo 3 and in even Halo 4, you mount your secondary primary or your primary weapon like the DMR, the AR, whatever, on your back. Well, I'm going to show you how I managed to do it, and it's really a cheap way. It's maybe not the best looking when there's nothing hanging there, but it's cheap, it's quick, it's easy, and it works. I will preface this and say, if you have a solid cast or something, a weapon prop that's really heavy, probably won't hold up. So bear that in mind. I'm also doing this with foam armor and lightweight weapons. It's really simple. I take a really cheap pair of these earmuff things from any kind of like discount store, or I would hazard a guess maybe Harbor Freight would occasionally carry them in the winter season. Anywhere where you can get really cheap crap, this actually works well. Otherwise, you can use just a wire coat hanger that has the same effect. Because what's inside of here is basically this. I apologize for the camera quality, but that's all I got. But it's just a simple metal frame, wire coiled up to go around your ears. So this is my foam DMR. This is basically what I've been using to kind of size and get an idea of how I want to mount it. Now, I'm a left-handed firer, and I don't see many people doing that. It just doesn't feel natural for me to carry it in my right hand like in the game, so this is why it's oriented the way it will be, because I'll orient it basically flip-flop from what isn't actually in the game, so it's not game accurate for me, but this mounting method is ambidextrous, so it doesn't really matter. First thing you want to do is kind of get an idea on the back of your torso piece where you're going to do it. Now, I usually line it up with these slots here. Just, it's a logical place to put it, and this actually will lend itself to go to that. It will curve, and it will actually curve up once you get it in there. So once you kind of get an idea of how it's gonna fit in there, kind of look at it, just kind of maneuver it around a little bit, and then set that off to the side real quick. Take a handy dandy pair of bolt cutters and kind of figure out where you had it, and just cut part of it off. Safety tip: the little metal parts that you snap off will kind of fly, so you've been warned. Now, the next step is to take your torso. Now, you can use a wider box cutter, and this is, like, again, foam. You can either take the wider one, or you can take the smaller one, or a smaller one, and just literally, it's only one cut. You have to go all the way through, and you don't have to make it that long. Just make sure you do it on the same spot on both sides and roughly the same length. This minimizes its look, so it's not going to look like a hole, and it's going to do what you want it to do. Of course, if I catastrophically fail this time, I've ran out of torsos to really show you how to do it. I can only show you the end result and how to fix a mistake. Then you flip this over, and then you try to find the holes that you cut. Plug my hot glue gun in real quick. Pro tip, always keep that plugged in before the video. Now remember to keep the pointy edges that you cut up and use them to go through the back. It should poke through relatively easily. At this point, you can really kind of start seeing, doesn't really come across very well in the picture, but you can kind of see it sticks through. Now it's here you can really say, well, maybe it's a little too long, maybe what I have is a little, maybe I don't need so much poking out. That's not a bad thing. It's always easier to cut more off than to cut too much off and have to put some back, because then you have to start all over again. So I've got a little too much on there, so I'm just gonna do that. Now the real nice thing about using these earmuff type things is when they're coiled up inside, to keep things from poking out, they have these little springs. You can't really see it. It's this little spring thing. It's like a cap, and it'll literally, when it's meant to slide on there, so you can see it just kind of slides on there nice and free. Well, once my hot glue starts warming up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these little caps, put a little dab of hot glue in there, put them on the ends, and just kind of set it there, and it'll stay put just perfect. And it'll keep it from having a sharp edge, so you don't have to worry about poking yourself, and it'll kind of keep it from, in any event, really scratching anything up. Now the hard part is waiting for the hot glue to warm up, and obviously I can grab it. So we're doing that. I'm going to show you one that I've prepared earlier. Video. Now, using a airsoft FAMAS as just kind of a placeholder and my alternate torso, you can see, and this has a fair amount of weight to it. Now, the wires are right here, roughly the same location as my other torso. I have one through the handhold and one through this piece. Now, this doesn't actually have to be here, because as long as it naturally goes this way, this will catch it and it'll hold it just fine. This is the tricky part. Now, based on observation, I'm going to say that it should hold anything without this handguard on it, but no guarantees. Test it out yourself. I don't have a prop that I'm able to do that with, so fair warning. But, I just slide it on and off, boom. And you really don't see it, so it's not going to be too much of an eyesore as far as accuracy. To give it a little bit more functionality, you could probably use magnets, like really super high powered magnets, but I don't have that kind of money, so I have to work with what I got. So, bada boom, bada bing. Slides right on, slides right off. So that's one I prepared earlier. That's with the FAMAS. here's with my DMR. Now, this is a bit bigger of an animal, so it's a little finickier. And this actually weighs a little more. So, you know, it's not going to flop around a whole lot unless you're doing a whole lot of movement. And another fair warning, it is a bit awkward to get on and off while in the armor. So I would recommend, if you want to have, say if you want to have one weapon out and have one in the back, to you stick with the weapon that you have in your hand. If you're doing a photo shoot and somebody wants to hold your other weapon, either get help from any other Spartans that might be with you, or ask them to see if they can't get it off very carefully. But with, as I showed with the FAMAS, which is painted up to be like a BR, it seemed to be a lot easier, but the DMR is a much bigger weapon, so it's going to be a little more tricky to get it off, especially because once you get your armor on, it's real tricky. Alright. Now you should be able to bend this as needed. For instance, if you know these are maybe a little too close, you should be able to manage to bend them with a couple pairs of pliers, and it should stay that way fairly nicely. Now, I think my hot glue is about ready. Take one of those little caps, just a little bit of glue. Now, you don't want to have the wire coming out of the end, because you want these to act like a safety cap so that it doesn't hurt anyone or your prop. Nice thing about hot glue is it doesn't take much to get it going, or for it to set. And basically, once you get those and you're letting those dry, which they shouldn't take too long to do, you want to make sure that this is in the right position that you want it in. Hold it on the inside, and then this isn't coming across. You hot glue around the holes that you put the wire through from the back, and then up at the top where you have the curve, or if you're using a wire coat hanger, I would suggest wherever it hits the back, hot glue it there as well. The more hot glue you use, the better it'll stay. You might have to hold it in place while you're waiting. And nobody's gonna see inside of here, so it doesn't have to look pretty. This stuff to set. Sometimes it's not a bad idea to, if you had any other modifications to your army you wanted to make and never got around to doing it, not a bad time to do it. have a fan, that's gonna expedite things, especially if you have it right on your desk and it blows right in here and it catches everything. Now, a lot of people, or I've had some some people ask about how I pad my helmets. It's really tricky. It really, really is, because I do it as a trial and error. I see how it fits. I will leave the visor out, and then I'll just kind of slide some padding up, see, okay, this fits, and then go from there. It's hard for me to say how to do it. I can tell you that you can use anything from upholstery foam to a motorcycle helmet liner. They sell those on their own, and sometimes they're relatively inexpensive, $15 maybe. Some people I know have used linings from baseball helmets, something simple like that. Another option is, and I learned this from Thorn 696, is neoprene. Need to find a piece of that. It's kind of like what wetsuits are made out of. It's real spongy, but it's stiff. If you form fit it to your head not well enough, you can get it so it slides on there, it stays there, and you don't get a bobblehead effect, and your helmet doesn't wobble while you're wearing it. So, pro tip. Not that I'm any pro, but it's a tip. And that's not a bad tip. Okay. So, when things started appearing to be dry, actually, you really should make sure it's completely dry. I don't have that kind of time. So, I'm going to try... Look at that. Like a charm. That's the FAMAS. Easy on, easy off. DMR, not so easy on, easy off, but it holds it. So, that's a cheap and easy way to do it. And like I said, it holds fairly well. And my DMR actually has a bit of weight to it. But, so, just walking around a con, you should be fine. Unless you get super hyperactive or want to do jumps and flips and rolls and that sort of thing. I will caution you again, these do stick out and they're not really retractable. Unless you find some way to get it to work like that. If you do, let me know. But this is a nice, simple, easy, cheap trick on how to make a secondary rifle mount to your back just like it is in the game as far as Halo Reach and Halo 3 and Halo 4 and I believe ODST. So this is Colonel Fork signing off. Remember 405th, keep building your armor. We'll see you next time.